will start 2 years after um, NYC for those who have a job, 10% of the loan, non-interest loan. Um, is it that it's there's a moratorium while you're in school and while you're doing your NYC and while you start to work, and the interest on the loans will kick off? I don't know that. Um, but for me, many of the countries who have these loan systems are going through a number of issues, especially in the US. Um, how long will it take with the rising cost of things every day? Um, 500,000 today with unemployment. How would people come out of what's it called? The president has promised that he's going to jumpstart the economy and ensure that it grows by at least 6%. We're waiting to see that, but these are just beginning days. For me, I do think that in terms of, and I say this, I probably was privileged to have been able to go to university because my parents could afford it and it was cheap then. But tertiary education today, the way it is, I don't think everybody needs to go to a tertiary education. I mean, go through the tertiary education system. That's my opinion, and I know I'll get crucified for this. But there are so many other skills that we need to start to develop in this country, um, that not necessarily require that you go to a university or a polytechnic or a college of education, as the case may be. And if we don't start to look at how we're going to create that enabling environment again for those kind of people, technical work, plumbing, things like that, and so on, so that those skills can be acquired and those people can better contribute to the system rather than just being what you call those handymen. And these are, there's no, you can't build a house without a plumber. You can't build a house without having a technician who would connect the wires and so on. We should encourage a number of those things and make them more attractive in terms of how people see them. Um, Growing up, you would see mechanic workshops are just at corners. Today, you have some people who became mechanics 10, 15 years ago. They have big mechanic plazas where the the cream de la cream go service their car and things like that and so on. So let's see how it goes. Let's find out what the full details are. When I read the bill, I'll probably be able to um, give a better opinion in terms of whether, in my own opinion, it's the right way to go. When you consider the fact that a lot of the funds are going to come from government coffers, and at this point in time, do we have that? Do we have those resources? These are just my opinions, and I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so my thoughts. I think that it's one of the right things that we need to do with our education. Whether is it the should it be the first, should it be the second, should it be the last? Well, it depends on who is looking at it. But I think that's one of the things that we should do. Second, I expressed a thought on social media yesterday that I think that the maximum threshold of 500,000 naira per annum family income for you to be eligible is low. I think that to study medicine, let's use a private university as an example
It's for
today.
public universities only.
I know I'm just using a because eventually it comes to the public universities will charge a fee, right?
Mm.
So if we use that as a threshold to study medicine in a private university today in Nigeria is about 6 million, 7 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
between 4 and 7 million,
exactly. So
depending on the
if
university.
if we say then that to study the same course in a federal university today with this loan will probably be like 3 million. How many Nigerians today can send their children to pay 3 million to study medicine in a public university in Nigeria today? So that's why I think that the 500,000 per annum threshold for qualification is small. Maybe if we raise, they can raise it. My third concern, which
But if they
probably
raise it, would that not exclude a lot more people?
no, I'm saying that they said that if you earn 500,000 and above, you are not
Mm.
eligible to apply. you
Okay.
must be below
500,000.
500,000.
That's
Okay.
what it means.
So that's why it will
Okay.
exclude, in fact, it will exclude more people
Mm.
from applying that way. Right. Then my third concern then is the issue that we're going to start an education bank. Where, how we're going to fund it? Does it mean that we are creating another subsidy somewhere? Because it means government is going to create a bank, put money inside as
Yeah,
regulated by,
they've told
as
us.
regulated by CBN,
They've told
and
us.
run it commercially, or what? Or is
Yeah,
it that it's just a sinking fund sitting down somewhere? I would rather, like the president said during one of his campaigns, where what at his colloquium, this last colloquium before the elections, that he said when you give loans, you make credit available, and he pointed at the banker sitting in the audience and said, better start thinking about it. I think
so
that we should run that education fund that way. Government give the money to maybe all
CBN
the
is in
banks
charge of
selected by, or
managing it,
whatever,
and they will
and
run
let
through the
them run
banks.
it through the bank, so that there can be accountability and transparency in a lot of these things. The idea then that people have started saying people would not pay, I don't think we should start with that. There is a clause in there, there is a part of it that says people will go to jail. The number of people in our jails today, are we able to take care of them? I think that we should worry more about how to make people be able to pay it back than if they don't pay back. How do we do that? He has said, for example, that he wants to
Creating
jumpstart the
jobs.
economy by 6%. We need to create jobs that these people will go to when they leave school. We need to create environments for people who will not want to do 9 to 5s, to be able to start their small businesses and be able to grow. How far have we gone with our ease of doing business that started 7 years ago? Where are we? What are we measuring the progress against? And so on and so on. So those are the things that we should be looking at, rather than focusing on people who won't pay. The Mo Ibrahim, the Grameen Bank man, said it many years ago, that two things in his experience as a social banker, that he realizes that two categories of people don't default on their loans: women and low income earners. That's the two categories he mentioned. So are we assuming that then that these people will want to give these student loans
Right.
who are going to be in that category? So we can lean on that to understand that these people will ordinarily pay back if and when they come out and there's somewhere to go to. So those are the three things that I have highlighted so far of the whole thing. And as the days goes by, we will see more, we will learn more, we will understand more. But we must also, let me also say that we have to credit this government, that is perhaps the government we've had in my lifetime in Nigeria that's started faster than anticipated in all the governments I've witnessed in Nigeria.
All right. So speaking about funding, some of the possible sources of funding is education and bonds, education endowment fund schemes, and then a 1% profit generated by the government from the exploration and exploitation of oil and other mineral sources. There are a few other ways that this fund is going to be uh, funded.
To
All
be
right.
administered.
Thank you. So let's move on to the next headline: 0809 981. This one comes from Premium Times. Now, the president has cautioned against arbitrary court orders, which he says are aimed at truncating Nigeria's democracy.
I received that news. Maybe Mr. President was quoted out of context. I would not expect that kind of statement, verbatim as written, to come from the Democrats, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to say that is cautioning against arbitrary court orders. What makes a court order arbitrary? If anybody approaches a court, we're in a democracy, we all have a right to approach a court. Leave the court to determine the outcome or their response, whatever the court says. It's a democracy. If you're not satisfied, you go to another court of superior jurisdiction to challenge what the lower court has said. I'm thinking in my head, this sounds dictatorial, that you're already interfering or you're already intimidating the judiciary by saying you will not tolerate. So that means everything that does not suit, that is not music to your ear, you can determine it to be arbitrary. Sometimes at the top, yes, we need to be careful our choice of words to describe what we want to say so that people do not misinterpret us. So for the benefit of the doubt, I will assume that this report has misquoted Mr. President in reporting it the way it's being reported. While we understand what it means, there are a lot of frivolous cases out there. There are a lot of things that are out there that should not even get to a courtroom, right? That, and then we've seen the judges throw quite a number out, even in recent times. We've seen them fine people for wasting court time and so on and so forth. So let's leave the courts to do their jobs. Let the executive do his job. The executive doesn't have a right to tell the judiciary how it administers the cases that come to it.
All right, let's go on to WhatsApp. Wale says, what will happen to those who get extra year? Well, they don't need to repay until they graduate, so they will be just fine.
I guess they just won't meet the criteria to get
exactly. Just won't get an extra loan. It will be part of the little details of the loan.
Okay. Bass says the people who made provision for student loans are also making provision for industrialization and employment. We don't expect the country to remain the same on unemployment. The loan is optional and it's a good start to university autonomy. And Matthias says there's nothing wrong if plumbers and electricians have formal education. It dignifies the profession and gives it higher standards. And
I disagree.
I never said that.
I disagree. That is an education that give you dignity in what you do.
I didn't even we didn't mention the fact that they shouldn't have formal education.
Absolutely, but
you don't necessarily have to go to a tertiary institution
to have those skills.
You need the basic. You go to technical schools where you learn the trades. That's where you go to.
Let's even categorize those technical schools as tertiary education.
They are advanced learning.
But I disagree that it is education that gives you the dignity in your job.
Yeah, it's not. It's your own professionalism.
Exactly, it's your person, how you carry yourself.
All right, and let's see. This one says the student loans from Cisco Delgado. The student loan bill is a welcoming development, but there could be issues from implementation of the bill by the government and students taking up the loans. Let's go on a quick break. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Stay with us.
I'm not ready.
Why we are attaching so much importance to going to school?
Going to university. No, it's not going to school. And you will see it in Nigeria. I go to university, I'll go and do BSc, I'll go and do MSc, I'll go and do PhD. Then I want to do this certification, I want to do that certification. Meanwhile, you post all of it on your CV. You interview the person.
Zero.
Oh wow.
So education don't dignify. How does education dignify somebody?
But education, in some way, in our society, it's seen as some. Well, it used to be. Maybe not now. That's true because
we have seen people who can't even speak English.
Wait. Obasanjo, Buhari, Babangida, Abdul Salam. What's their basic education?
Well, I mean, they did have military training, right?
And that's the point. It's basic education. Secondary school. Then all the other things depends on you. If I want to go and become a plumber, I will go to technical school.
I'll try not to speak to this number 3 because I'm angry.
I'll be the one that will speak to it. No, I don't even want to.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. The WhatsApp number to be part of the conversation, 0809 440 981. You can also tweet at Smooth981. And don't forget, we're streaming live as well on YouTube. So just search for Smooth981 on YouTube and you can catch the live stream. I see your messages. Please keep them coming. Now let's go on to this report from this day. Now, civil servants across several ministry departments and agencies have been suspended for alleged salary padding on the Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System, IPPIS.
First and foremost, there are too many agencies that need to, you just need to, so you have a ministry and then you have like 6-7 different agencies that are doing the same thing the ministry is doing. First, you're wasting the taxpayers' money on paying them. Then you have a system, which everybody, this IPPIS has been said, is the new foolproof. No, yeah, that's part of the reasons of going through the IPPIS. But the fact remains is, what is the control systems within this place? Is it that when you are paying salaries, those it's connivance, quite all right. There are no checks. It's been going on for how long? It's a man is supposed to earn 60,000, been paying 400,000. I just realizing how many months after or how many years after. Where are the audit systems in this what's it called? Who signs off on all these payrolls when they are generated for these salaries to be paid? Or is the IT man who sits down with the imputer and decides it? It just goes to show you the level of of negligence across board, from the head of the agency, or whether it's the ministry, right down to the person who is hitting the button for the salaries to go on. I really don't want to talk much about this because it it, it beats me when we see this kind of news, that there are no, up to the office of the accountant general of the federation. So what do you expect if the accountant generals are stealing money, in quote, alleged stealing money? What do you expect from the people who are underneath them? You can't expect anything better, you know. And this coming out, I hope is not just going to be swept under the table at the end of the day and say, okay, we've done the investigation. It was a mistake somewhere. It was the system that had some bugs, and that's the end. I know you want to talk about it, because really,
I'm trying hard
don't say
not to
anything.
say
Let's just
anything
leave it
about
like
it.
that.
But don't forget that.
But we want you to say
But
something.
you see, the thing is that don't forget, IPs is a basically computing. You brought computers, information systems, automated, whatever, right? But don't forget that it is human beings, Nigerians like you and I, who put that data in that.
That's what I'm saying.
And they are
What's
the
the
ones
process of
who
review?
does all these things.
What's
right?
the process of
and
review?
then there's a 1, 2, 3 levels of review. You see, the problem itself starts from the mindset of the person who sits in all these roles that we have described, that I have to cheat the system. And that's the ailment we need to treat, right? As long as we don't treat that ailment, we'll keep having this story, right? And then the end result is, like he said, for how long has it gone on? Okay, so don't let us worry for how long it has gone on. Now, where we are today, what are we going to do about it?
And that's why I'm hoping that they don't sweep it under the table now.
So that's all I would say. What are we going to do about it? You remember that song?
Not particularly.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go on.
Let's see some of the messages coming through. This one is from Gab. Gab says, I think the education loan thing is a rush. It can come later. The interest rate on loans are highest for people that want to go into business, to provide jobs for those who get no interest rates on loans, to study and get jobs that aren't even there. This one is from Tomiwa. Tomiwa says the loan should go to the best candidates that will get the best jobs and should be able to pay back in no time.
Nope. It's not a scholarship. It's a loan.
It's a loan. If I can apply for it,
if I can apply for it and I meet all the criteria that have been set, I get it. A scholarship is to say for the brilliant ones, the star boys, why they set up the Suleja Academy, for example, why they send people overseas to go and study, why they get the best graduates in after NYC to go to PhD level, blah blah blah. Yes, there they can do all those.
This is an opportunity.
This is an opportunity for ordinary person who otherwise don't have the means of going to get the funding.
Yinka says, just so you know, it's possible for one to go to school and yet not be educated, meaning that it's possible to go to school and not be educated. Okay. Last night I saw some posts of some folks saying just get the loan and jackpot to the UK. I expect that measures have been put in place.
They'll be shocked.
Mitigate against
Let them try it. They'll be shocked.
The NIN and BVN info will come in very handy here. NIN restricts your passport while the BVN ensures that any inflow to your account is billed immediately. Let's be guided. From Daily Trust, parents of Chibok girls have appealed to President Tinubu to help facilitate the release of 92 abducted girls who are still in captivity, in Boko Haram's captivity.
10 years. In my village, we used to say that if a child dies, it's better than if a child gets lost. You know, it dies, there's closure. You are sure you can, even if as an adult in my village, older people don't know the graves of their children, right? So at least you know there's a closure. Somebody knows that, okay, the child has died and there's a closure. you move on with the pain in your heart, whatever. Now, the child is missing. Every moment of your life, you are looking out. Any small sound you hear, you are hoping it's that child that has returned. That is the situation of these people. We've had three presidents now. I'm assuming three
This is
presidents,
the third one.
10 years, and we're still where we are. 272 were taken in 2014. I think there's still about 100 that are not accounted for. I think that
92.
it's
92.
it's
There are
so
92 that have not come back.
painful that there's nothing we can say other than let's put a closure to these things. Let's deploy all the resources possible to find them. Let us even know if they are alive or if they are dead, God forbid, so that we can put a closure to it and let these parents move on with their lives. They can't move on knowing that their child is possibly outside there. And President has said the right things about security. He visited the Office of the National Security Advisor, the newly built one, when he commissioned it, and he has charged all of them, all of the security apparatus we have in Nigeria, to work together, the police, the DSS, the military, NSCDC, all of them to work together to share information. And if that is the case, and then again, I go back to one of his statements in his that same colloquium that I referred to earlier, where he said that they were going to recruit 50 million Nigerian youths. We know today that we are under policed. We have 450,000 policemen to police 200 million people, 640,000 square miles of vast land. We know 400,000 people can't do that. One third of that 450,000 is already doing.
Is it the size of Nigeria? It says 640.
It's 640,000 square kilometers. Yeah.
900.
Is it 930? I can't remember. I think
930.
is it 932? Yes, 932,000 square kilometers, I think. So the land is massive. 450,000 people can't do it. So we go back to that same statement again that says it will recruit 50 million Nigerian youths. Of course, there are no 50 million Nigerian youths to recruit into the security agencies. But if that is what we need to do as a starter, let us do it. Let us beef up these people. Let us equip them. Let us give them the adequate training to be able to do these things. So even if, God forbid, like I said, that these 92 are there, we can put a closure to it once and for all, and then now ensure that those kind of things don't happen again. 10 years is a long time to be hoping and waiting for a child to come back home.
0809440981. Why did you want to say something?
No, it was the way your tone went down.
I mean, it's a very sad
It
situation.
is.
All right, so we're going on to Punch. Lagos State Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources has organized a stakeholder engagement in Alimosho, and this is part of the government's efforts to ensure adequate power supply to residents through various interventions.
Um, Good initiative. And pushing through this, because one of the greatest challenges in distribution, in transmission and distribution of electricity in across Nigeria is metering. And I'm happy to hear that the permanent secretary in the ministry, Ms. Shashore, spoke about that by educating the community. And for me, I do think we have enough generating plants, although we don't have it, most of it, we don't have enough gas at every particular point in time, because of either logistics or costing. But at this point in time, I think state governors, local government representatives should start to speak to the communities in terms of one, accounting for the energy being used, the cost of energy, the wastages that are happening. When you consider the fact that the Electricity Bill Act has been signed, huge opportunities for states to bring in investment, but also huge opportunities for the states to start to educate their people on not managing, on optimizing the use of electricity. That way, you would be able to get 15, 20 hours of electricity. It might be slightly more expensive, but at least you would know how to manage it. Rather than, like I always say, rather than turn on the AC and go to work and come back at 6 p.m. because you want your house to be freezing when you come in, then you would know the value of how much it costs to generate electricity, how much it costs to transmit and distribute electricity. Electricity is really, in the real sense of it, is not cheap. It's quite expensive. But these forms of education, stakeholder engagement within communities will start to let community members understand the fact that you just need that meter for you to be able to count how much electricity you're using, what you're wasting, where you have appliances that shouldn't be used at particular point in time, and so on and so forth. So kudos to Lagos State and the Ministry of Power in Lagos.
All right, from Punch, the ICPC has held bid has started the auctioning of forfeited assets.
ICPC is Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, right? Professor Owashonye, I think.
Yeah, Owashonye.
That should be the chairman now. We've moved from retired justices of federal court to professors. Interesting.
He's a lawyer,
but
and he's a son.
Teacher, son, not judge like before. So quick one. So is there a place where we have the list of all these forfeited items and who it was confiscated from, as listed that is available to the public? I don't think so. So who does these announcements? When was it done? I think it's okay to do this auctioning. It should not be done at a fee that is not competitive. That's one. Two, there should be full disclosures as to who bought and the cost at which the person has bought, so that we can also there estimate against how much the people who forfeited these buildings and these properties were supposed to have been indicted for against what came in from people who are buying. So if, for example, somebody is being indicted or is under trial, is forfeited property worth 1 billion naira, we should be able to say, okay, who is buying? Is the person buying at less than 1 billion or is buying above 1 billion for whatever reasons? So that it helps the transparency and helps to improve our belief that government is actually fighting corruption. And this should not be treated in the corner of a place. It should be done in full public glare, where pressmen, Nigerians like you and I can also participate. For the life of me, it might just be a solar panel system that's available for sale there that I could buy. It could just be a Hyundai, what's the name of that car? i10 that is there that I could buy, not a V8 engine, considering where we are today in Nigeria. So I think that we should do that for everybody to see. It helps our transparency, and then us the people too should also follow up on this information that we have had.
All right, just going to take a few messages. Dan Okuda says the president's statement on frivolous orders is a clear encroachment into the independence of the judiciary. The president should desist from making these kinds of statements. Ajayi says it's a national tragedy that the Chibok girls are still languishing in the terrorist den 10 years after they were abducted from their school. And it's even more painful that these girls are being held right here in the country's territory, not outside. At this point, do we really know? There's no trace, so we can't even tell.
We don't have an idea.
Right. And finally, Nedu says, why can't we change our policing strategy? For me, state police would work better. That's all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed. Thank you for your messages. Thank you for listening. And special thanks to our analysts as well, Uade and Lakunle. Do stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.